Hello, my name is Jennifer Sellars. Thank you for joining me today as I present to you the dissertation defense for my problem of practice. This study is entitled Exploring the Experiences and Post-Secondary Plans of Participants in a Rural Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities or CEO program, a qualitative single case study, presented for the Baylor University School of Education. Today I will first start by discussing the problem statement that inspired my research and a synopsis of the current literature on the topic. Second, I will present the purpose, the research questions, and the theoretical framework, followed by the methodology for this study. Finally, I will present an overview of the study's findings and a summary of the recommendations based on the findings, and then close with a plan for the distribution of the information found in this study. Rural communities have long faced challenges in retaining young talent, fostering economic growth, and providing equitable access to post-secondary opportunities. Geographic isolation, limited educational resources, and economic disparities have contributed to a pattern of outmigration among rural youth, often leaving communities with a shrinking workforce and fewer emerging leaders. With 138 million people residing in rural communities with populations less than 20,000, 42% of Americans face the risk of losing their schools, communities, livelihoods, and heritage. The impact is profound, especially considering that over 9 million K-12 students attend rural schools. For these students, perceptions of their communities play a pivotal role in shaping their decisions about pursuing post-secondary education and their future residence choices. Rural high school seniors face unique challenges in making post-secondary decisions based on factors that distinguish their experiences from those of their urban and suburban peers. These limitations contribute to persistent opportunity gaps and rising youth outmigration, threatening the long-term sustainability of small rural communities across the United States. The literature review examined the challenges facing rural communities and how infrastructure, post-secondary pathways, and community attachment shape emerging adults' decisions to stay in or leave their rural communities after high school. Lack of broadband access remains a critical barrier, with studies by Ulrich Schad et al. And Early and Hernandez showing its negative effects on education, healthcare, and economic equity, and highlight major gaps in rural internet availability. Boggs and Hardy emphasize post-secondary access for rural students is shaped by geographic and financial barriers, with Meyer and Wren noting flexible options like military, college, and career and technical education, or CTE, though Haviland and Robbins found CTE remains underutilized. Community attachment, including social capital, community norms, and perceptions of the economy, play a vital role, as Wolf et al. And McClay and Foster found that mentorship, emotional ties, and community expectations significantly impact students' aspirations. Chang et al. And Sakala et al. Found that job availability, experiential learning, and civic engagement all shape whether youth view their rural communities as viable places to build their futures and remain long-term. If rural communities do not provide viable post-secondary pathways, young people may feel they must leave their rural communities. This misalignment between local opportunities and young people's aspirations make it hard for them to envision a future in their hometowns, which contributes to a demographic shift and leaves behind an aging population and strains local resources. The purpose of this qualitative single case study was to explore rural CEO program participants' perceptions of post-secondary opportunities in their rural communities. The CEO program is an entrepreneurial education program that offers high school seniors hands-on entrepreneurial education that connects them to local businesses. The research questions that guided this study examined CEO program participants' perceptions of their rural communities to provide a distinct perspective on rural life. The questions focused on CEO program participants' perceptions of their rural communities, educational experiences, and post-secondary opportunities. The research questions are: 1. How do students in rural communities who participated in the CEO program in high school describe their communities, focusing on place attachment, community attachment, and perceptions of economy? 2. How do students in rural communities who participated in the CEO program in high school describe their educational experiences, focusing on engagement, school perception, and grades? And 3, how do students in rural communities who participated in the CEO program in high school describe their post-secondary opportunities, focusing on residential aspirations and educational aspirations? The theoretical framework for this study was the place identity model by Bernson et al. Bernson et al.'s research highlighted the connection between community, educational, and economic factors, and how those interactions are related to an individual's residential and educational aspirations. In 1978, Proshansky developed a theory of place identity, emphasizing the role of psychological bonds between individuals and their physical settings. This model highlighted how cognitive, affective, and behavioral components interact to form a cohesive sense of place identity, contributing to behaviors, attitudes, and overall well-being. Building on the decades of research on place identity, in 2020, Peng et al. Expanded the understanding of place identity by integrating sociocultural and environmental dimensions. Peng et al.'s research emphasized that place identity is not static, but evolves dynamically through interactions between individuals, communities, and their environments. And in 2022, Bernson et al. Operationalized factors related to place identity, specifically in the context of educational aspirations and residential aspirations, by integrating community, educational, and economic factors. This slide illustrates how Bernson et al.'s model aligns with the three research questions. In order to explore how CEO program participants perceive their post-secondary opportunities, I used a qualitative single case study with 2 embedded units of analysis as my research design. I used the shared phenomenon of participating in the high school CEO program. I chose this design for its effectiveness in exploring this shared phenomenon as it allowed for a detailed examination of participant experiences across different geographic regions and program contexts within the same overarching case. I selected participants through criterion sampling. This study design provided an in-depth understanding of how CEO program participants viewed and experienced their post-secondary choices. I identified potential participants for this study based on 3 inclusion criteria. First, successful completion of a full academic year of the CEO program. Second, enrollment in a high school located in one of the 4 target counties of Morgan, Scott, Greene, or Calhoun. And third, willingness to participate in both an individual interview and a focus group. I excluded individuals from the study who did not meet any one of these conditions. I chose a qualitative design because it effectively explored the shared experiences of participants across 2 CEO programs in 4 distinct rural counties in west central Illinois. From the 7 high schools involved in the Morgan Scott CEO program, I selected participants from the largest high school by student count, the smallest high school by student count, and 2 mid-sized high schools by student count. From the 4 high schools in the Greene Calhoun CEO program, I selected 1 participant from each of the high schools, ensuring that each of the 4 counties represented in the study had at least 1 participant. I included 8 individuals who had participated in the CEO program in the final sample for this study. 4 of the participants were graduates of the Morgan Scott CEO program, and the other 4 were graduates of the Greene Calhoun CEO program. Having completed high school, all participants were in a stronger position to reflect on their experiences and discuss their post-secondary plans with greater clarity and perspective. Participants signed consent forms and were assigned pseudonyms to maintain confidentiality. These are the 39 questions asked during the semi-structured interviews. And these were the 21 questions asked during the focus group. I conducted a within-case analysis. I used data from semi-structured interviews and focus groups to develop 3 thematic statements aligned with the A priority components and subcategories outlined in Bernson et al.'s place identity model. These thematic statements summarized the core ideas within each component and illustrated how participants made meaning of their experiences in relation to their communities, educational experiences, and post-secondary opportunities. This study revealed 3 key themes that shape rural students' post-secondary aspirations. First, CEO program participants' desire to stay in their rural communities was guided by a strong sense of community attachment. Second, CEO program participants recognized the limitations of their rural schools and emphasized the importance of extracurricular opportunities in enhancing their educational experiences. And third, CEO program participants acknowledged the role of family and the support of community in their post-secondary choices. A strong sense of belonging and pride in their rural communities motivated many CEO program participants to stay in or return home after graduation, often citing close relationships, mutual support, and a desire to contribute to local growth as reasons for their commitment. Additionally, participants acknowledged the limitations of their rural schools, such as few resources and narrow career exposure, but emphasized how extracurricular experience helped build confidence, expand their understanding of opportunities, and enhance their readiness for post-secondary paths. And finally, participants described how encouragement from family, community members, and mentors shaped their educational and residential decisions by reinforcing their identity, expanding their networks, and exploring long-term investment in their hometowns. Together, these themes highlighted how emotional ties, community involvement, and relational support function not as constraints, but as critical assets that shape meaningful and locally grounded post-secondary choices for rural youth. The first key finding from this study was that CEO program participants' desire to stay in their rural communities was guided by a strong sense of community attachment. This finding aligned with research by Roxa and Kinsley, which showed that emotional and social ties to one's community influenced emerging adults' decisions to stay close to home. The second key finding of this study was that CEO program participants recognized the limitations of their rural schools and emphasized the importance of extracurricular opportunities in enhancing their educational experiences. This finding was consistent with Slocum's research, which found that exposing rural youth to local professions and opportunities fostered a sense of belonging and motivated them to stay and contribute to their community's growth. The third finding from this study was that CEO program participants acknowledged the role of family and supportive community in their post-secondary choices. This aligned with research by Glazer et al., which emphasized the role of family and community as essential sources of social capital that shape the post-secondary pathways of rural youth. This study's findings contributed to understanding how rural school administrators, community leaders, and emerging entrepreneurs can each play a vital role in supporting students' post-secondary success while fostering rural sustainability. School administrators are encouraged to expand access to experiential learning, entrepreneurial education, and community-based career exploration, and to allow access to extracurricular opportunities to address limitations in rural education. Community leaders can support talent retention by deepening partnerships with schools, offering mentorship and internships, and modeling the value of investing in one's hometown through hands-on engagement to better connect students to locally relevant opportunities. Emerging entrepreneurs are called to leverage the support of family and community networks to pursue innovation and align with regional workforce demands, whether by starting businesses or contributing creatively within existing organizations, reinforcing that entrepreneurship can be both a personal path and a tool for rural revitalization. Taken together, the study highlighted how strong social capital, community attachment, and local opportunity structures empower rural youth to envision futures grounded in both aspiration and commitment to place. To ensure the findings from this study inform practice and promote rural revitalization, I plan to present to local civic groups and at Chamber of Commerce meetings to encourage support for educational initiatives that foster entrepreneurship. I will share findings with school leaders by presenting at regional education conferences, distributing briefs to superintendents, principals, and guidance counselors, and collaborate with community colleges. To reach students directly, I will present at high school orientation programs and career fairs and involve CEO class participants in presenting to junior high and high school students during career exploration events. At the college level, I will pursue opportunities to speak in business courses, rural development seminars, and entrepreneurship clubs. Finally, I will contribute to the field through practitioner publications and online platforms to ensure insights from the study support educational and economic development efforts in rural communities. Thank you for allowing me to share. This study illustrates the potential of rural entrepreneurship to not only address local challenges, but also to create lasting economic change in these underserved areas. This research demonstrates that by integrating entrepreneurial education early, fostering partnerships, and engaging local businesses, rural areas have opportunities to cultivate a sustainable entrepreneurial ecosystem capable of overcoming economic challenges. Being an entrepreneur is not limited to starting a business. It's about embodying a mindset of innovation, leadership, and problem solving, no matter the role or career path you choose. Entrepreneurship is a way of thinking and acting that can ignite meaningful change and make a powerful impact no matter where you find yourself.